like than a disease, a symptom of this profound civilizational crisis. I think the virus is not the enemy, as a lot of people are seeing it. It is more like a messenger. It is more like an advisor, I think. Okay, so let's keep moving. If not, we're not going to get over it. So, what is about this civilizational crisis that we talk about? I think it's reflected and a lot of things, but I just want to mention two. In the environmental unsustainability that we are seeing and living around the world of this world system, as Wallerstein calls it, right? We see climate change and we see growing environmental problems all over the world, but also we see this social unsustainability. We see a growing poorness, famine, inequalities, and stuff. They're facing a lot of problems, and this sum of a lot of problems in a lot of areas of human activity is that what we call a civilizational crisis. So this crisis, it is not is only, but it is mainly caused by what a lot of people are calling the Western civilizational project. What is this Western civilizational project about? It is based, of course, in the European modernity. It is like 5 centuries ago, and it is based in two principal ideas. One is the idea of progress. Progress as this idea of always going forward, always better, always more. It is based in a linear time conception that is very different than the time conception of the indigenous or peasant communities. And it is like this growth and the velocity paradigm, always growing economic growth, and this always fast, always efficient, etc. Right? The second idea of this Western civilizational project is the idea of development. This development, I think it represents this Western civilizational project, like the image that is like this living in these huge cities, in these huge buildings, etc. It's a project that has consumption. I'm sorry, as a measure of wellness, right? And we could think maybe that this wellness is very different than the well-being of the communities and the cultures of the South. Um, we can see it also in this industrialization. What do we mean by industrialization? We mean like the project of giving satisfaction of the human needs, of our human needs, via some institutions. These institutions can be private, public institutions. It doesn't matter. But like the logic is that we need institutions to meet or to address our own human needs. And this is a very profound problem when these institutions came in crisis. So, and it was as people in a very different. So, of course, it's very difficult to talk in 2 minutes about a whole civilizational project. We can say a lot of benefits like individual liberties, consumption, technology, of course, but it presents very serious problems, talking environmentally, socially, and also existentially. So, frame we're in a very urgent need of radical analysis. What do we mean by radical analysis? We don't mean like extreme postures. Radical, we mean those things that are roots to the origins and causes of the problem. So this is, I think, it's a very logic thing. Like to understand and solve the problems that we're facing in our time, we need to understand its profound causes. If we don't do that, if we don't do this radical analysis, we're not understanding the profoundness of the problems, and we're not going to be able to solve them. This is very important thing because we need to shift our questions, our frameworks, to find other different answers. Here I just put four little examples that I will not go through them because of the time, but well, the presentation is there. I'm going to send it. So you can have it, but we can change our point of view, and surely we're going to see different conclusions, different answers. So this pandemic, as we have been saying, we have to overcome this symptom by attending the disease. It's very hard to put this in very few minutes, but I see like three principal roots in this problem. One is this Western civilizational project, but not the project as itself, but the project as a universal project, as if we, all the cultures, should be walking through the same path of development and of progress. That is one of the roots of this global disease that we are facing right now. The one, patriarchal dominance, the patriarchy that we're living in this world more or less like 5,000 years ago, and it is the base of almost our societies. And the third one is I think the dominance of our human ego, of our that makes us understand reality separate from ourselves. So we think we are individuals, that we are going through the world, like relating ourselves with the world, but we are not understanding ourselves as the world. And here, the South, the indigenous cultures, worldviews, not a lot to teach us, right? So I'm not go through more this. We can talk by 2 hours about this, but this is just a little thumb. So to assume the depth of the problem is to talk about this civilizational crisis and as the probability or the possibility of a collapse of this world system, as Wallerstein called it. A lot of people think this is a nonsense. A lot of also are this very seriously, and I think it's a chance. I'm not sure about it. We should address it as a very serious um, problem that we may be facing. So I will try to go a little bit faster. Sorry about the time, but talk about these solidarity economies. It doesn't matter how we call it. I think is if social economy, solidarity economy, communal economy, convivial economy. There are a lot of different frameworks, but we're going to try to see a little of what they share, the common ground, the common soil. And to do that, it's very important to frame them in in this thing. We have two very different logics in the mainstream economy. You can see a lot of about it, and also from solidarity economy. Another things. I won't go through all of them, of course, but I would like to see the second point, and it's very obvious that in mainstream economy, what is the principal goal is to maximize profits, individual and private profits. Economies which is to maximize the social and environmental and cultural benefit. It's a very different logic from its roots, and of course, it's going to get different places. So I would like to put a little some ideas about this solidarity, so we can know what we're talking about. I will put them all here, so we can just do this, right? So as the this is a very first thing and very important. They put life at the center, not money at the center, not capital at the center, being at the center, but life, right? This is a very radical and different approach. That said, it seeks to maximize the social and environmental benefits. Research seeks to construct new relationships in the world between human beings, also world, and this is very different because it gets from this caring of Mother Earth. We don't see nature as natural resources, something that you can only get, so it only gets value if it is useful for something else. But we see Mother Earth as something very different, right? We serve to build the vida buena or buen vivir, as we call it in Spanish. El tal in Mayan, they call it lequil kush lejal. Very different idea and very radical different idea from development, from progress. It talks about well-being, it talks about respect, it talks about etc. Point of view and goal. The next thing is that we search to build autonomy. What is this? Recover the ability to do by our own hands, by our own means, to meet and to satisfy our own human needs, with our own hands, with our own means. So I am just 2 or 3 slides more to go. I will try to finish. So that support that are like the framework of the solidarity economies. Also, we cannot go through all of them here. And these are communality. That is a very different point of view of world. It's to be in common, to be as a human being, but in common, in community. The conviviality, it talks about how we can use tools, convivial, that are to do with our own hands to meet our aim. Very different than the industrial tools. So diversity is also very important. All kinds of diversity, cultural, epistemological diversity, and also ontological diversity. This is very profound because it tells us that we assume and we accept that we live in a world of different and diverse realities. I can go through all of this, of course, but it's a very profound thing and a different thing. So these economies are deeply, see, they share this agroecology framework. We understand not as something as some institutions, enterprises, or anyone, that something that they give us. We understand work that we do. It's very different to understand it as a verb and a substantive. I don't know. I cannot go through all of them well. And we talk about interculturality, the dialogue of knowledges. The science knowledge has a lot to say, but it's not the unique truth, and it's not the. Also, there are a lot of different knowledges, profound and very pertinent knowledges that are called by some authors southern epistemologies, right? So we have different civilizational projects. In this Western one that we have been talking about, economic growth, search sustainable development, as some people say. I think it's just a contradiction of terms, actually. And we have these different other of them coming from the South. And where we talk about solidarity economies, and we don't talk about alternative developments, we talk about alternatives to development, and it's a different civilizational project. And this is the last slide. Sorry for the time, but how I think these solidarity economies are pertinent, are very necessary for these times. Not only the pandemic, but also the civilizational crisis that we are facing. These solidarity economies, we have to say, they are viable economically and socially also. I work compared for more than 10 years, and we have seen that we have been economically successful, and there are thousands and thousands of experiences around the world that demonstrate this. Also, they can serve us, they can as a base to build in the real world, in the actual now, like this other world that we want to construct, talking about that we should change it. Well, gives us a possibility to frame them, to exist. This is important in the times that are coming. There are an option to start freeing ourselves from this dependence from money in the first place, and from industrialization in the second, from these institutions that gives us all the things we need. So we rather than that, we can try to construct and to build things so we can uh, um, by ourselves, by our needs. And the last idea, I think, as a ion as I said, right? This 21st century, it seems that it's going to be very difficult. It seems that we will have a lot of pandemics to come, a lot of climate change, a lot of environmental problems, social problems. So it's very important, I think, this is my opinion, that we have to get prepared to it. In one thing very importantly, in our subsistence, this is very transcendental for people that live in poorness, for people that live in communities that are peasants, that are producers, coffee producers, or producers of any almost anything. So we have to start building the possibility to build our own subsistence. This at least in the most basics areas of life, such as health, as clothing, and as also the capacity of reproduction. We have to build the means so we can face in a better way this 21st century. So I'm very sorry for passing from my time, but I wanted to share these ideas, and well, I'm glad to hear your opinions, commentaries, or questions. Thank you, Enrique, very much.
Jose Andres, thank you. And we have time just for two very short questions. So, and if any of the students of Ibero Puebla or the Boyd Hochschule or Federico II or professors from those universities, if you have any question or comment to do to Jose Andres, please do it now.
If I may talk, do you understand?
Sure, Wolfram. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. I just wanted to ask, at the end, how do you draw back the line from a new economic system cope with this current crisis?
We hear the second, or do you want me to answer this one, Enrique?
We should hear both questions, and then you. So we have time for a second question, please. Anyone? So, Jose Andres, I think there's just one question, and that's it.
Yeah. I thank Wolfram for the question. We could talk about it like for hours, but I only give my opinion about it. I think this pandemic, this COVID pandemic, it faces it shows us like the very profound problems that the normal world or in the normality where problems that are in the peasant communities, in the indigenous communities, are not not that clear from the cities, but from the communities we really know. So I think this crisis and this pandemic is showing us like this fragility of the system, and that a lot of, at least in Mexico, and I know a lot of other places like Spain and a lot of places in Latin America, that small enterprises, that small businesses are having to close, are having are not ready to encounter this crisis. And I think it is like an alarm. It is like a thing that is trying to wake us up. I think that is why I think this COVID more as a messenger. And we are people that have been trying to work in these alternative economies, especially solidarity economies, for decades. And this, how do I link them? I think this is stop. This has been starting to be a not only a problem of the peasants, not only a problem of the poor, not only a problem of the indigenous people, that are facing this really huge problem of the civilizational crisis time. But this is making us to all the people in the cities, the developed countries, etc., to face also this problem. So I think it is a more like a messenger that invites us to think radical problems that we are facing and how can we solve them. We know that this economic system is profoundly unsustainable, also in one place, socially in another place, and also I think existentially, because the very few studies, serious studies about human happiness are demonstrating the people, the persons in developed countries and in developed societies are not being more happy than the people from the non-developed countries, from the peasant communities, etc. So that is, I think, a very profound realization. That's why I think all this pandemic invites us to make this radical analysis and to answer in the same way, the more radically way. So I don't know. I go. It is a subject that I'm very interested. I could keep it, but I don't want to take more of the time I already have. So I hope I could have addressed the question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, José Andrés. Thank you, Wolfram, for your well, at the end of this presentation, you saw José Andrés. So, yeah, we had this conversation with José Andrés, and he told us that if you have any question later, you may do it and just write him out in his email address. And I want to thank you again. I think that you will get some questions later on, because this is very interesting, and I think it is fundamental topic we have to address on the workshop we are working in, but also in our professional practice. So thank you again.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. And just as I said, yeah, I'm very open to receive questions, comments, to start a dialogue about this. I'm very interested in this subject, so yeah, happily to do it. And thank you everyone to this and for the invitation. So yeah, well, there's my contact, and much, and have a very good day.
Thank you, Jose. So our next speaker, Dirk, go ahead. Yes, I saw you raised your hand. So Diana Juarez. So if you have any comment, do it now.
No, I just wanted to thank you very much for the lecture. No more comments. I think this should have the voice.
Thank you. It was the same for me, Enrique.
Thank you, Diana. So now I'm very happy to present to Seth Perez, and I will also read his semblance. So Seth Perez is an information designer. Is interaction and service design lead at Fjord, with 14 years of experience in strategic business projects to innovate and enhance products, services, and user experience. He participated in more than 200 projects that human-centered approach to develop solutions which has been relevant for users as well as strategic for companies. Tasks developed included management of digital strategy and service design practice sources and warranty of project's quality. That he coaches the team and develops management and evaluation tools in order to deliver better results. So it's my pleasure to present you Seth Perez, and I pass microphone and cameras to Seth. Welcome, Seth, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you. How are you? Nice to be here. Well, I'm going to share my presentation. Give me a second. Can everybody hear me? Is this okay? Yes. Excellent. Just a second. I'm going to stop my video because my internet connection is not so stable, but I prefer you hear me and see my and watch my screen. So at the end, I turn on again my video. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for inviting me. For me, it's awesome to participate and share and bring some ideas to your project. Last week, I had a couple of minutes to review some of the projects. So very interesting to start to participating in events like this. Well, as you mentioned, I have worked for 14 years creating solutions through design research, also usability and service design projects. No? And well, today the COVID-19 has changed everything about our context around the world. No, as people, we are worried about our health and our mental health too. The quarantine has a big in our lives and obviously directly in the economy, health systems, in education, tourism, transportation, and all the sectors maybe experiment. I don't know if it's true, but maybe it's the worst of all times. So today, the COVID-19 has arrived and changed everything about our context around the world. People really expect lead lives other kind of approach. In this approach, I want to talk about today a different mindset, and this mindset is, as we called, life-centered design. We are really, it's very popular to hear about design with the user in the center. But today, with the COVID, we have to challenge our capabilities and our experience to lead with this big problem. So, start, and I would like to start with this article that was published by experts in Accenture Interactive, and the name of this is the 5 new human truths. No, these are like tricks or insights that I think is very important to consider to design experience and to do whatever you want to do. We are people, and our context is very, very similar today. No, in fact, we are in very different countries. So, building through every interaction or through every The number 2 is the virtual century. Then forest shift to a virtual working. Everybody has experienced this big change in our form to work, for our form to life. So as we can see today, anything can be done virtually, and people is going to try to do online with the different channels. So we have to focus in these virtual interactions. So how can deeply understand people in order to design products and services, considering this refers to new human trust? And as my title of the talk says, I'm going to share some of these frames and methods that I have used in my career. And there are a lot of this kind of techniques, methods, and theories, but I consolidate the most relevant, the most relevant that I think would be helpful for you. And one of the most valuable frames that I have used as a researcher in the last years is this one, job to be done theory. It refers to the work that your client or your user is trying to accomplish. This theory was developed by Tony Ulwick and Clayton Chris in to Harvard Business Review. And they mentioned that they present 3 main aspects. The first one is identify customer jobs. This is the user task, what I want to achieve. The second is identify the gains, the benefits or rewards which users are expecting, And the last one is identify the pains or the barriers which normally obstacle the customer jobs, And I like this structure because I can create an insight, And the insight is something that gives me a direction in my projects, Is the problem that I want to solve. When you start a project, you have to question what is the problem behind of this request, not just to build this. After 6 months work, you come back and think, but wait, what are we doing this? What was the request? So the insight and the jobs to be done give you this base to develop better products or better experiences. At the end, I'm going to share all these materials to download. Sometimes some of them are links from Amazon. I don't have all the material free to share, but I'm going to share this toolbox of things to you to develop your projects or integrate to your projects. Okay. And continue with the human truths. The number 3 is today every business is a health business. People are coming to the conclusion that they cannot depend on existing health structures, but on the other hand, want all the help they can get. So health should be considered in every experience today. This is a pillar to design all the solutions that you want to transform in something. The other one, the number 4, is cocooning. Today, also, home is the epicenter of life and experience. We are in quarantine. We spend almost 23 hours of our lives in our homes, and have to understand what happened in the people's homes, no? And try to connect that. So if you are designing an experience for current users, no, segmentation probably doesn't work anymore, no? In fact, many of typologies of customers always were wrong, full of stereotypes, no? The older, the younger, the entrepreneur, all of them are stereotypes, and sometimes blend our actions and help. So, considering this, our lives are not so linear or predetermined. No? So I want to share another perspective to analyze and explain these people's behaviors. And this frame, the second one, is the moods. And the moods give us an axis of analysis where people navigate depending on their own circumstances or context, no? Regardless to this demographic variables like age, socioeconomic level, etc. No, we can see an application of this theory on Herman Miller's. No, they share an article. It's not new. It was a very interesting article which explains very well the value of understanding people's moods, roles when interacting with our products or services. No, this is the other document that I'm going to share. I have the PDF. This is totally free, and it's very interesting how Herman Miller's identify this mood. No, so people is the same, but depending a lot what they want to achieve. You know, I want to converse, I want to chat, I want to go a meeting, I want to be alone to concentrate, create focus in my work. So the moods, I think, is a more real segmentation, or is a better frame to start to connect with the people. No, at the beginning. We trying to explain this because the age, no, but today it's impossible create segmentation or create patterns of behavior because the age, no, is not more applicable to our projects. So I recommend read this Herman Miller's modes of work. It's very, very interesting. And finally, we are up to the last human through, and this is the reinvention of authority. And it says that dependence on experts and strong government recommendations lends real weight to central authority. No, it's like you have a king again, no? but everybody's expectation is like something like, well, we need to do what we are told. No, it's our best interest. But I want to see, and this is very important, companies to do the right thing too. No, so I don't know what is happening in all the countries of every people, but the government have a credibility till a moment. After that, you have to show results. You have to be coherent with your behaviors. So the reinvention of the authority is other thing that is changing a lot in these times. No, so but it's not just government. No, will brands and businesses act right in these times? That's the question. What happened with the other actors of this story? So we have mentioned that people's expectations have changed. So we need to have this model in mind to be competitive in pandemic times. This is the progression of economic value. And this is a model that I have used a lot to show my clients why it's important to design experiences. No? Some questions were formulated because of this model. And for example, what you can ask or think about what impact do we really want to have in our customers, no? Or is your product a commodity or an experience? What is it? Or what do you want, no? Are we competing only based on pricing? That is a very risk race to enter. So we have to know that we are competing only for pricing or not. And maybe are we designing experiences with a clear differentiator and bringing something, what is this, something outstanding to our users? No? Because maybe you want to sell an experience, but with a commodity, and that is impossible. No, it's the best scenario for the people who work with businesses. No, but if you want a right or be in this stage, you have a route to go to complete. No, so it's important to thinking about this this route, this flow, no, this scale. So everything has changed. The problems that we used to have are now increased by COVID-19. Problems in e-commerce platforms. I don't know if you have buy something in the last week, but the e-commerce sometimes is terrible because they have a lot of demand. No, ones don't have work, and which has is totally full and can't respond so fast as the people trying to buy things. So we have also problems in educational systems. No, the classes online is a very new model today. Transport and so on. Exists a lot of examples, but in the end, things were not well designed. They were weak, and today is the moment to design it better. It is why I think we should see the COVID as a design problem, no? A design problem that is so complex that we cannot take it under our linear vision of cause and effect, no? This must be approached from a system perspective, no? A little more complex, where actors, barriers, health system, government, and products are connected in a single ecosystem, no? And they are helping or hindering each other. So we have to analyze this like a system with a system perspective. The other thing, the world has always been complex, no? But today we know it is important and how to map this complexity and act in real time to create a big impact in human lives, no? Considering all the, as I mentioned, no, the actors, the variables, and create these relationships to understand where are you and how to act, no? So I want to bring this concept, systems design, to your mindset. I don't know if you have heard this before, but today is important have this thinking because digital transformation have increased the impact in platforms, products, and services in our lives, but putting humans in the center of an ecosystem. But I think, and this is a trend or my opinion, this may not bring the change that we desire, no? I want to play this little video. And you can see here how exist some variables and how they are connected and affect one to other. No, it's not so simple to say this affect this, so the result is this. No, this is the system design. System design is trying to show us. You have to understand this ecosystem. No, and humans must be seen as a crucial part of this complex system, but not as the center of everything. This is one of the trends which I have, which Fior has published in the book, no, the Fior Trends 2020, and one of these trends is the life-centered design, no, a kind of evolution to human-centered design, and when we involve life, no, is in the design process, no. Next. I want to share a personal story. You know, when I was a child, I always had problems learning things. I need to invest much more time to pass my exams than other children did. That was very frustrating. But my parents told me to work hard to achieve my personal goals, no, to go ahead. And when I arrived to the adolescence, my mother told me, said, you experiment that learning difficulty because of your dyslexia. Many people have it, but on different levels. Yours was higher than the average. And I think today, thanks to my dyslexia, I have learned to create my own explanatory models for studying to my exams. I learned different with visual relationships and shapes. So this helped me a lot to be a designer. Here with you, I feel the responsibility to share this thing because I am absolutely sure that behind those screens, there is a lot of talent to scale great ideas using your capabilities as architects or as designers. But don't be thankful only for your talents, no? Thanks and watch your weaknesses as well, because that also drives you to improvement. As my dyslexia encouraged me to be a designer. Use this pandemic to grow personally and professionally as an architect or designer. Realize we are not designing just for humans, we are designing for life. The world needs more designers and architects more than ever. That is a fact. Practice the frameworks that we have talked today, no? The new human truths, that is a consolidation of insights of what's happening with people. The jobs to be done to achieve what people really want to do. The moods to start to understand and navigate of the different moments and contexts of the people. Life-centered design to create a connection, not just with other humans, but with the life and with the world that we are living. And systems design to start to understand this complexity and localize where is our real impact, no? So applying all this approach give you tools, give you other approach to design things and create memorable experiences, no? And if somebody tells you that it's not possible, don't believe it. Thank you very much. And this is my talk. This is the link to download all these tools with some PDF that I consolidate and the material of the talk. And I will be great if you can give me a feedback. No, it's just a feedback with only 2 questions, so that will be great for me. That's it. That have this feedback to you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Seth. Now we open the microphones to address some questions that probably students and professors may do. So please, students and professors, go ahead if you have any question, or if you want to ask for some recommendation on your projects, on your ongoing projects on this workshop. I would take advantage of the presence of Seth.
Can I come back to my?
Probably you stop sharing the screen.
Yes.
So yes, we have time for 2 or 3 questions. So I would read one. This question is made by one of our students whose name is Jamie. So it says, if you could compare COVID-19 situation with any other similar scenario of crisis in design ambit, what would it be?
This is a difficult question because we are entering into a new era, no? And maybe the COVID is the evidence that we are starting this new era, because all things that are happening in this moment have happened in different scales and in the different moments. But today the complexity starts because everything is happening at the same time. You know? And that is the complexity that we have today. But today we have more tools to lead with these challenges. No, the last century, maybe the internet connection, the social media, the tools that we have today, the smartphones, was process still very rustic, I can say. But today, the problem is this pandemic, this COVID, have arrived and changed everything, and we need to respond at the same time. No, the number of deaths is you can compare with a war. No, that is terrible, and I think something that have created this focus is because it's happening at the same time. No, I don't know if everybody remember the last year. No, but when happened this in China, here in Latin America was but that's happening in China. Don't worry, it's okay, everything is fine. No, the problem was or looks like to be really far, and that was not true. So today we have to create this use our capabilities, no, to lead with this challenge. So I think we are starting to assimilate the impact of the crisis, but after assimilate, we have to act. And with this talk, I want to give you these tools to start to understand a little more where we are, no, where what are the components of this system to start to design better solutions. And for that reason, I think the COVID is a design problem. No, attack everybody in all the cultures, in all the countries. So what can we do? And I think we are starting to take some actions, but this process is not as fast as I would like to see. No? Big companies start to to let go employees, no, massive number of people is lost the work. And what happened with that talent? No? The war exists, but we have to focus our resources and our activities to this crisis. So, as if I can answer your question, I think maybe this is the worst crisis that we have experienced in all times. Maybe we have to wait maybe at the end of the year to have a more clear response. That's it.
Thank you very much, Seth. I have another question in the chat, but I would also like if you members of the workshop want to ask live, so do it.
Yes, I would like to ask a question or more to give a little statement. In my opinion, it's not really a huge, big problem we have to face, but we are just getting back to normal with COVID-19. Since pandemics were normal hundreds of years ago, we had already some, and we will repeatedly have others. It's a challenge we have to face, and in my opinion, there should be another truth we should remember, that physical contact is at risk. That's not just free, but it is for contamination, contagion, at risk. It has ever been. And just we forgot the last 100 years that thanks to medicine, we were not exposed to those dangers. Now we are again, and we have to cope with that. So this would be my little provocative statement. And sorry you didn't see me. That's me from Berlin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. Today I think is maybe it's one of the first crises that you can't be contact with other people, no, and the enemy is invisible. Is still more difficult to take actions, no, and after when you go out to your home and see your context, you can create a reality, no, or what is happening, no, in your context. But today at home, if you think, is very tricky, because you have to sometimes believe of the news, no, so you have to really look for fonts or reference with a good reputation and credibility, to be done afraid with what is happening, you know. Is other context totally different, and we are trying to navigate in this uncertainty. So I agree, it's very difficult to take actions when it's something so new. And I expect at the next months, maybe with the experience of the other countries, no, how they are lead with this, help the other countries that have the pandemic after 3 or 4 months, no. But totally agree, this is a very, very big challenge for us as designers, for as architects, you know.
Thank you, Seth. And we have space and time for one more question. So, well, I would read the one I have in here. If no one raises hands, I'll do it. I will read the question. It says, it is also a question from Jamie, and says, I think each person could have their definition of what an experience is or what it consists of. Despite the difference in concepts, which do you consider the common points, the points on which we should focus? So it's kind of asking recommendation.
In this point, I recommend don't try to standardize the concepts, because everything advanced, everything changed, and today we can mention that this user-centered design, but if you read design thinking, oh, it's very similar. That you read interaction design, oh, but this is like, what is this? What we are doing? The concepts should have or create a good communication. If they are not helping to develop solutions, don't care. Embrace the other concept that they trying to communicate. Here, the important is what happened with the experience, what happened with the behavior, no? And in many projects, we have to change. For example, we work a lot with the term of insight, no? But you can identify insights in communication as other thing very different than what is an insight for me. But here the important is to have empathy to create this connection to your client or to your users, no? So don't be so hard with use the best terms, because they are just terms. In this case, my recommendation is observe what is the impact that you want to create in your experience, in your client, and create this reverse engineering, no? We have to achieve this, and after that, okay, we start to build the road. But it's not so relevant to trying to standardize everything. If the real academia doesn't do it with the language, imagine for what people is understanding today, what is UX and UI, and what is the difference. That's our good conversation between professionals. No, we like it to change to share our point of view, but at the end, with your client, with your users, it's not so relevant. So don't think a lot about that.
Thank you very much, Seth. I think that would be the last question. Thank you, Jamie, also for your questions, and Franz for your statement. And Seth, I want to thank you for your presentation and for this chat, and also for these answers to questions. I'm sure that we will get some more questions, and if you allow us to do it, we'll send those questions to you by email or any other means, and probably we'll get those answered, because I think probably this is time, and also the students are a little bit shy, and you were students, so you know what's going on in their minds and in their young hearts. So, but I know by some comments that I can read on private chat that they are very excited with your presentation, and they find it very useful, especially some of them whose projects are involved in some services like transportation and also restoration. So yes, let's keep in touch, Seth. Thank you very much again.
No, thank you. Thank you for to participate in this forum. It's very awesome what you are doing, and good luck in your projects.
Thank you, Seth. We will let you know, and if you agree, we will invite you in the final presentations of the projects. I hope you have time to be there.
Thank you. I love it. Perfect.
Okay.
See you.
See you.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
So now, going to present our third speaker, and it's I mean also a pleasure to present to Juan Luis Burke, Dr. Juan Luis Burke. He was originally trained as an architect with a specialization in the preservation of the built heritage in Mexico. During the first part of his career, he collaborated in the preservation of important landmarks in the city of Puebla in Mexico, such as the Palafoxiana Library, which houses one of the most important rare book collections in the Americas. He has practiced architecture in Mexico, the United States, and Sweden in projects ranging from historical preservation of different structures and genres, so like museums, schools, and private residences. He carried out his master's and doctoral studies in history and theory of architecture at McGill University, earning his PhD in 2017. His scholarly interest revolved around the history and theory of architecture and urbanism of the early modern to the modern periods in Mexico and Latin America, as well as its connections to Europe, in particular to Spain and Italy. He has published a number of articles, papers, and edited chapters in Spanish and English, revolving around issues of the reception of architectural and urban theory in Viceregal Mexico and other architectural and urban subjects. He's currently an assistant professor of architecture and architectural history and theory at the University of Maryland, College Park, where he teaches architecture studies and history and theory of architecture and urbanism courses at the School of Architecture, Planning and Preservation. So let's welcome Juan Luis. And Juan Luis, I give you microphone and cameras. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Enrique. Can you hear me? All fine? Okay.
Yes, cool. Everything fine.
All right. Cool. Hi, thank you for the invitation. So far, I've been able to hear some of the lectures, and they're greatly interesting. So, as Enrique was saying, I'm a professor of architectural studios on the one hand, but I also teach history of architecture and urbanism. So when I was teaching architectural history this last semester, the final part of the semester, a couple of classes were dedicated to discuss with my students what is the situation with COVID, the epidemic, and urbanism, and whether there are any issues that will affect in the future the way that we do urbanism. So I'm going to share my screen now and begin the lecture in full. So that's basically the origin of this lecture, of this very